A few weeks ago, South Park just released its newest Paramount Plus special, The End of Obesity, and it was pretty good. I liked it. I enjoyed the added focus on the boys, something sorely missing from the past couple, them usually focusing almost solely on Cartman and Randy with the others simply there to complement their story. I'm still holding out hope for a few more of these things that don't feel as if they could have just been regular episodes extended out for twice the runtime, but that doesn't mean it was bad. I just can't help but prefer the post-COVID special, or want them to take this opportunity to focus on more grand adventures. Remember that one season they did where they kept switching up the intro every time and it kept focusing on a new resident of the town? This seems like the perfect opportunity for more stuff like that. Some of my least favorite South Park episodes are the ones where you can tell Matt and Tread just find one joke really funny, and so chose to just tell different variations of it for 22 minutes with slight escalation every time. And it's because of that I often find myself remembering specials like The Return of COVID and Not Suitable for Children more fondly than Joining the Pandaverse or The Streaming Wars, simply because there's more going on. You know, when the joke ceases to be funny anymore, you're shit out of luck. There's nothing else there. But whatever, that's not why I'm here today. I'm here because one moment in The End of Obesity stuck out to me, and it was this part right here.
Tony the Tiger killed Kenny!
Oh my god. When was the last time they actually killed Kenny? Then I looked it up and realized that it actually wasn't that long ago. But there's no arguing that this franchise staple gag, one of the most famous jokes in television history, doesn't come up nearly as often as it used to. And that was very deliberate. See, Matt Stone and Trey Parker decided from as far back as their earliest South Park related shorts to feature their running gag that one of the main four boys would die. Kenny, usually being killed in a gruesome way with blood and guts everywhere. Stan and Kyle utter the line,
"Oh my god, they killed Kenny!"
before appearing then in the very next episode with nobody batting an eye. This was hugely popular, you don't need me to tell you that. You know, t-shirts, mugs, bumper stickers. It was so big, you had other shows quoting it.
Oh my god, I killed Kenny!
They killed Kenny!
That was a fucking Disney Channel sitcom. Why? The South Park creators have stated a few times in interviews and such that they had a friend in school who used to skip class frequently, leading them to joke that he actually died, of course only to come back in another day. And so they continued killing Kenny for years to come, him being offed in just about every single episode. Before season 6, that is. If there's one thing to know about Matt and Trey, it's that they don't usually like simply doing what's expected of them. We've seen this through the massive shifts the show has undertaken consistently throughout its run, like the boys moving up a grid, getting rid of Mr. Hat, killing Pip, R.I.P., making Mr. Garrison get a sex change, making Mr. Garrison undo their sex change, you know, most recently Randy moving and becoming a weed farmer, which took over the whole show for a while. Despite South Park's episodic nature, they were both constantly shifting their focus onto different things, and one thing that happened only a short 5 seasons into its run was their decision to permanently kill off, Kenny. We'll get to that. Season 5's aptly titled Kenny Dies saw the duo kill Kenny off, citing boredom with the character. He had run its course. The fact that he doesn't talk doesn't help with storytelling that much either. And while they brought him back just one season later for unknown reasons, one of their other reasons for getting rid of him being to give more screen time to Butters, a character they were growing in fondness for increasingly so. And so one has to assume they realized half the time Kenny is no more active in a story than a houseplant, and so decided to bring him back in case they ever did want to use him again. But one thing that didn't revive with Kenny was the choice to kill him in every episode. As the series went on, it became more of a shock to see Kenny die once in a season, over the once an episode fans had grown used to. I'm sure they just didn't want to feel like they were forced to adhere to a gimmick for the sake of it, only deciding to kill him off when they wanted to. Even trying to later give the gag a deeper meaning, trying to give a canonical in-universe reason for the countless resurrections. But because of how much they've done this, they obviously had to get creative at times, surprise the audience in how they murdered this 8-year-old boy. And so that's what I wanted to take a look at today. I counted every Kenny death back in my ranking, but this time I want to take the time to review and rank each and every of Kenny's 90 deaths, on their own from worst to best. I feel like that structure would work better this time than doing it in order. And so let's get at it. It's time to review and rank every time Kenny dies in South Park. Also, I'm only going to be focusing on the show and the movie. There's way too many shorts, video games, promos to consider. I'd rather just keep this consistent as to not miss anything. Also, if you were expecting that American Dad ranking I promised, it is coming. Just you wait. It is coming. But first, speaking of the CIA, there's nothing scarier in the world than knowing data brokers are selling your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who wants to target you. Do the CIA spy on you, or is it the FBI? I don't know. Like I said before, I give opinions about cartoons on the internet, so naturally, I have to accept that all my personal information is out there. But you don't have to suffer the same fate if you just use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows you which data brokers have been selling your info and automatically subs opt-out requests. Not only does this reduce the amount of spam you get, but also protects you from people who want to use your information to get into personal stuff like your bank account. AT&T revealed that over 72 million customer records were released on the dark web, and of course the most simple thing to do is to change your passwords and monitor account activity. And thankfully Aura does all that for me. And best of all, it's all in one. No need for multiple apps when Aura does it all. So stop data brokers from exposing your personal information and go to aura.com/lsmark for a 14-day free trial and see how much of yours is being sold. Again, that's aura.com/lsmark. And thanks Aura for sponsoring this video. Now, I'll be ranking these under a variety of factors. The main ones I'm keeping in mind being creativity, basically does he die in a unique or fun way? Substance, does his death mean anything to the actual episode, or is it just something on the side? And, yeah, you know what, that's kinda it.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Something, I guess, to make clear at the start of this would be that every Kenny death is special in its own way. But the Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka has the least special, in my opinion. A riot breaks out on Jesus' talk show Jesus and Pals, in which two angry audience members grab Kenny and rip his head off. Again, there's nothing particularly bad about it. I'm not deeply offended by this Kenny death or anything, and I do actually like how simple the animation is. He's like a Lego figure with how easy it was, but I don't know. It was just the least entertaining. Just kinda happens. IMO.
Tony the Tiger killed Kenny!
Funnily enough, the death that sparked this video idea would end up so low on the list. The end of obesity initially got a couple points in my mind for being so recent, but then I looked back on it while putting my list together and thought, nah, kinda sucks. Tony the Tiger throws him off a moving truck and he dies hitting the car windshield. It's fine, but feels so passé. I learned a word. Wish they brought the gag back with a bang, not a whimper.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
I just like this one for how violent it is. Them establishing how rough the Kai's opposing football team is by having them rip Kenny's limbs off, Jesus. It's so quick and doesn't stand out enough to land higher on the list, but from here all these deaths are good in their own right. Some are just more deathier than others.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
It's interesting, Damien was actually going to be at the bottom of the list for the longest time. It was only before recording I decided to put it a little higher. See, some of my least favorite Kenny kills are the ones where he just gets shot, seems so easy. And that's why Damien was originally my least favorite, with Stan's Uncle Jimbo just shooting him a bunch. But then after sitting on it for a while, I came to the conclusion, Kenny looks really funny as a duck-billed platypus.
Quack quack.
And with that, it raised the ranks. Congratulations.
Oh, bitch!
Proper condom use is a death that would be much lower here, lower than it already is. I mean, it's just the girls throwing a boomerang and slicing Kenny's face in. But you know what? That shot looks really nice. No wonder they used it for the intro. They added a blur and everything. They didn't have to do that. Thanks.
Kenny, no!
Jubilee should be higher here. I mean, it's the first I've covered so far that actually contributes to the plot, with Kenny bashing his head off a conch shell that trapped Moses, with him being able to not come out and save the Jews. Kenny saves the Jews. I always liked when the Kenny death was given some more meaning by eating the story in some way. We'll see that a bunch going forward. But at the same time, I don't know, it's Liam. You're telling me that killed him? Yeah, right. Read a book, man, Trey. Like the Torah or something.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
As the kids of South Park are putting together their school play about Helen Keller, one of the stage lights falls and crushes Kenny. I like that the quote gets muffled from the fake beard knowing Stan. I just like this one as it's a good bait and switch, the light actually being planned to kill Timmy's turkey gobbles. Hey, I said I liked it when the death was involved in the story, not that it had to be meaningful. Not to sound like a psychopath, but I think there's just something about the act of crushing a thing that's cool to me. Like those oddly satisfying TikTok videos where they use a hydraulic press on an object. Except for glass, then it sucks. You know, like in Mario Galaxy where he gets crushed into a 2D planar in Sonic Unleashed when you'd hit a wall. I'm not crazy, I swear.
Oh my god, they've killed Kenny!
This one's just gruesome. Well, it's gruesome as a South Park death can be. With all the pissed off turkeys running rampant on the town, they attack Kenny and proceed to poke his eyeball out. Yuck. This is another crappy shooting death. Again, yawn, boring, but it's only so high up because of what precedes it.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
You bastards!
Hey!
With Cartman and Kenny being on the same side for a Civil War reenactment that Eric obviously tries to turn into a real Civil War. He sends a letter to Kenny's mom detailing what just transpired. It's pretty good. Again, you get the drill, they're just shooting him after a raid. But I can imagine at the time of release it must have been really shocking to see them reference that one real-world event. You know the one, here's the photo, you get it. The Chinese Mafia this time are the ones shooting Kenny after they steal the boy's client, Mr. Liu Kim's wife Wing. I just like how emotional it is. They're always flip-flopping on whether or not anyone actually cares about their friend dying, but here we have Kyle grab his dead body and assure him that he didn't die for nothing. They will get Wing back, and they will make a shit ton of money off her. What a pal.
Alexa, kill Kenny.
Okay.
Skipping ahead all the way to season 22 with one of the more recent Kenny deaths. Again, it's seldom done now, but I like how dumb this one is. After Jeff Bezos tells his Alexa to kill Kenny, we're led to believe it's nothing more than a throwaway joke. However, by the end, during the kids' bike parade, we see Cartman pulling Kenny's casket through. It caught me off guard.
Whoa, dude!
I just enjoy how fucking stupid this one is, with Kenny's insides exploding after pressure buildup. This is the episode where Cartman makes everyone jealous by claiming he's maturing faster through getting his period, and so after Kenny later claims the same thing, they start shoving tampons up their asses. Genius. Again, it's just stupid. I like that this one was completely self-inflicted. This death comes from the wrestling episode, which I think is pretty underrated, with all the boys becoming hugely successful in the field after honing in on the aspects of wrestling men actually care about. The drama. And so fan favorite wrestler, especially with the Mexican crowd, El Pollo Loco gets stuck on a malfunctioning rocket that was fired at them by the school coach, who's pissed at them for making a joke out of the sport. Flying to the sky and blowing up with fireworks everywhere. R.I.P.
Oh, don't start with me,
Wait,
kitty!
what the fuck, he lived?
Oh, Jesus!
This is another stupid one, but that's why I like it so much. Mostly because it aids in the B story, with Mr. Garrison getting so frustrated by the process of getting through the airport that he creates his own method of transportation. Meanwhile, Kyle 2's cousin Kyle comes to town, and looking to get rid of him, they all take him to the airport, where security freaks out and just starts shooting the shit out of Kenny. There was no need for that.
Oh, Allah! Cosa que vano!
Again, not the most creative or anything. With the boys being in the Middle East, they get drone striked, you know, who would've guessed? Kenny being the only one to not make it out unscathed. But I do like that his Middle Eastern counterpart also blows up. It's a curse.
Some crap themselves to death.
With the boys spending the entire episode trying to learn the fabled brown note that makes whoever hears it shit on command, they accidentally get it sent up to the lady organizing the event, and so she replaces the regular sheet music with the one containing the brown note. Uh-oh. With this, the kids play it so collectively loud that it causes everyone in the world to shit at once. Some, including Kenny, shitting themselves to death. Sad.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Trapper Keeper's just gross. This was an episode they would rarely air when I was growing up, so I'd always watch the show's intro and go, what the fuck is that goopy-ass Cartman? Either way, as they're entering Eric's room to steal his Trapper Keeper, the tentacles burst through the door and slam Kenny against the wall, killing him. It just surprised me.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
P is up there for being one of the few Kenny deaths where we actually get to see his face. After PP's Splash Town has one too many entrants pee in the pool, the entire park floods, with Kenny dying off screen as we see him floating face down. It's just kinda real, not bloody or disgusting. Well, okay, relatively disgusting. But now he just drowned, it's dark even for this show. Ike's Wee Wee is one that I simultaneously like and don't like. Don't like because it's so pointless and barely a factor in the episode. It's so thrown in, just happening without anyone caring. But also, I like it because, well, basically those same reasons it's nothing.
My responsibility!
Oh, I got scared Kenny!
Summer Sucks' Kenny death is fun because it happens to him as a baby, as weird as that is to say. But I also like that it came when the series animation was still at a point of being very crappy. He just falls apart. Again, it's like dying in a Lego game. All his limbs just fly over the place. It's dumb.
Oh my god, she killed Kenny!
While it may not seem too amazing at first, the boys substitute grabbing a spear and chucking it at him after being approached by Iraqi soldiers, I'm mainly impressed that they tried something slightly more visually creative this early into the show, with us getting this cool POV shot before it pierces his skull. Cool.
Yo, bitch, you killed Kenny!
If it were in any other context, it would be near the bottom of the list, but the fact that it's adult lady Pandaverse Kenny makes this one way funnier. Just the visual of this grown woman getting brutally smashed but nobody giving a shit. Put It Down contains the only Kenny death of season 21. In fact, I remember it blowing me away at the time when it premiered, because it was the first Kenny death in a whole 4 seasons. I think the longest break between Kenny deaths. Even funnier is how much of a throwaway gag it is, with the joke of that episode being people continuously getting distracted by their phone while driving and running over kids. Doesn't sound like that much of a joke out of context, but whatever. During the really catchy ending song, we see a tribute flash on screen to all the kids who have lost their lives to this epidemic, with one of them being Kenny. I love that no attention is drawn to this, it just happened at some random point we never saw. This was another that surprised me at the time because of how much more infrequent the kills were becoming. This being the first since Bike Parade, around 2 years if I remember correctly. This was the first special Matt and Trey had done, the pandemic special right around the start of COVID. I still find it weird this is considered to be one of the 2 episodes in season 24, while the rest of the specials are classified as completely different things so Matt and Trey could work around their HBO Max contract. Whoa. Either way, I imagine with it being their first special, they wanted to throw in a bone for the fans. With Kenny running away from the police tanks before getting shot and run over, it's one of the most realistic and dark on the list. On the opposite side of the spectrum, here's one that is given no weight whatsoever, and that's why I love it. This is the episode where Cartman feels like he's broke a funny fuse after saying the most hilarious thing known to man. 2 people with asses for a fetus. But once he regains it at the end of the episode and once again can laugh, we see Kenny get hit by a car out of nowhere, in which Cartman reassures us that he's regained a sense of humor by laughing hysterically.
Oh my god! They killed Kenny!
Funnily enough, here's another where Kenny gets run over. I was not planning on these to be so close. But I like the stakes present here. With all the boys trying their best to get to church to confess their sins, Kenny gets hit by a bus. With them lamenting that Kenny now must be in hell since he never got the chance to atone for his sins. This one kind of freaked me the fuck out as a kid. Even worse, my grandmother was sitting right next to me when this happened. Right as I was attempting to plead with her that watching South Park wasn't bad for me. Look where we are now, Grandma. I'm a YouTuber, oh.
What? I'm not talking to you.
This is another one that goes so high up just because of how freaky it was to me as a kid. In context, it's lame how out of nowhere it comes in. You could tell this was around the time the duo were struggling to fit this in every episode. It just happens. But I was always really irrationally terrified of getting caught in one of those escalators, and so seeing this did not help that fear.
What? What the hell is wrong with you?
With the boys headed to Canada to rescue Kyle's brother Ike on Christmas, we're met with Saddam Hussein. He's back on Earth, somehow, with him using his iconic laser eyes to zap Kenny, blowing him up in an explosion of blood and guts. Yuck.
Oh my god! Our game sphere! You got
I just like this one for how nobody gives a shit. Not only does it reaffirm the stakes with the threat of everybody falling into lava, and so they put a lot of focus on the pain Kenny's suffering through, which doesn't happen as often as you'd think. But it's made even funnier by the fact that nobody cares, having more concern over their Okama game sphere. I mean, who could blame them? It's the fucking game sphere.
Oh my god, they killed the little orange coat kid.
Kenny is gunned down by the police again, but this time there was literally no reason. They're waiting for Charlie Manson to come out and have ample time to see Kenny walk outside waving a white flag, but they shoot him anyways. Great. I just like that Charlie gets to say the line this time.
They killed him.
This isn't the coolest or most epicest Kenny death or anything, but I like how they used it to establish the stakes. With all the adults being run out of town after the kids accuse every one of them for molesting them, makes sense in the episode. We see a couple pass through South Park. Looking for someone to help them fix their cars, they find Kenny's body, only a skeleton remaining. I just like the implication this sets, that the town had gotten so mismanaged that the kids are killing each other. That's some sweet storytelling right there, I tell you what. It's just so real.
Well, who didn't see that coming?
Spooky Fish always stood out to me just for this animation right here of Kenny getting blanded up like he's in a blendy thingy of some sort. How could a mere fish cause so much torture? And why is Barbara Streisand's face still the scariest thing about all this? Clubhouses is another that is high up on the list for their reaction more than the actual death itself. Him merely getting trampled by guests at he and Eric's clubhouse.
Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastards!
Oh my god! Ozzy Osbourne bit Kenny's head off!
With the boys helping Chef pay off his lawyer fees after getting sued, the kids get a bunch of famous musicians to help them raise the cash, one of which being Ozzy Osbourne, in which they do a parody of his famous bat-eating bit, him instead biting off Kenny's head. It's just a horrifying thought. Something that would be way more terrifying if the animation weren't so simple. Ugh.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Almost put this one near the bottom. I was so close, you have no idea. It comes completely out of nowhere as Barbara Streisand is rampaging through the town, yet Kenny just decides during this he wants to play tetherball, sure. But then I thought about it, really hard, for what must have been hours, days even, and then I came to a realization. It's really, really funny.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Not the wildest we've seen so far, but it's definitely one of the most intense. Again, I like how it does a good job at setting the stage. The boys' dodgeball match against the Chinese is made a lot more intimidating after they chuck a ball that bashes Kenny off the wall, killing him instantly. In one of the worst episodes of the entire series, we see Kenny try to distract Cartman by dressing up as a deer on the mountain. However, during this, a fucking bear comes out of nowhere and rips him to shreds. Jesus Christ, what more is there to say? It's just fucked up. I just like the visual of this one, bringing back Sally Struthers as the villain in Starvin' Marvin's Grand Return. With that, we see the CIA presenter with a gift. That being Kenny, frozen in carbonite. I like the implication that they did this off screen at some point. Perhaps it's a little lame and an easy reference, but again, I just find it funny.
Oh my god, she killed Kenny!
The Succubus is one of the rare episodes to have multiple Kenny deaths. 2 to be exact. Coming around the time they tried playing on the fact that Kenny dies in every episode with no one batting an eye. Chef gets a new girlfriend and blows the boys off while they're waiting for him at the bus stop. They're waiting so long that we see it go to nighttime where Kenny has been eaten by rats. However, by the time the sun rises again, Kenny is just fine. He was revived off screen, great. The second time comes at the end when his fiancée shows her true form and smashes him.
What happened, you guys? Is Kenny okay?
I also love how it comes into play at the end. Throughout the episode, Cartman is annoyed that he has to start wearing glasses.
No, not with my eyes. With these. Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
This is one of the more simple deaths, but I wanted to highlight it because it's one of the few that genuinely scared me as a kid. With Death chasing after Stan's grandpa, we see him show off his powers on Kenny by touching him. Just the idea this thing could kill you without even trying was so scary to me. And I like that we get to see him at the end with Stan's great-granddad too. Kenny thinks a bunch of antacid tablets are mints, and upon drinking water, blammo.
That was a good one.
Why does nobody care? This was another that surprised me when it happened. I think it was actually around the time I started realizing how little that killed him off anymore. We're during the Big Black Friday arc, one of my favorite South Park events personally. We see Kenny at Sony headquarters in an oddly well done anime imitation. He uses his magical anime powers to hop out the window before... that.
Oh my god, we killed Kenny. We killed Kenny?
I just like the way this one was animated. It's also a really funny culmination of the boys' desperation, as Eric gets sent to juvie for a silly little hate crime. They need to find a 4th slitter for their contest with the girls, attempting to disguise a pile of bricks as Cartman, which plays out just as well as you think. This builds upon things in a funny way too, as now Stan and Kyle are darn 2 sledders, further complicating things. Just comes out of nowhere. They could have opted out of doing the Kenny death during their sweet Christmas finale, but no, right when you least expect it.
Oh my god, we've killed Kenny!
This one is intense, the planetarium's mind control being so severe that it causes Kenny's head to explode. Damn. Here's one that's not all too entertaining on its own. You know, he's on a roller coaster and gets impaled by a pipe, whoop-de-doo and all. But I mainly like it for Cartman's reaction. It's one of the first times they acknowledge that the characters sometimes remember how frequently this happens.
Kenny, he dies all the time! Oh my goodness, you killed Kenny.
I just like how mundane this death is. As all the kids are overdosed on Ritalin, Cartman starts having Christina Aguilera hallucinations. I mean, who hasn't? He sees one on Kenny's face and then just...
Hold still, Kenny.
This was another one of my favorites as a kid. While the boys get caught stealing kids' tooth fairy money, the local BB Mafia decide to send them a message by drowning Kenny in the lake, which is unsuccessful because of how shallow it is. I like that they keep it up throughout the episode. He's just kind of stuck there yelling for help. And then it comes together in a funny way as we see him trying to get out during the credits, before unknowingly walking into this random deep end and drowning in the spot.
Hey look, Kenny's okay!
Volcano gets to be so high because I appreciate them trying to shake up the formula, even this early on, you know, episode 3. As the volcano starts to erupt, we see Kenny be put in a plethora of unfortunate circumstances, yet he somehow survives every one. You think he's gonna get away unscathed before the very end where Jimbo's friend Ned just shoots him. Again, for being only the second Kenny death in the whole show, I always liked the way this one looked. Him getting knocked away and his head getting pierced by a sharp pole. I specifically remember drawing this one a lot as a kid. I didn't even mention that, as a kid, whenever I was really into South Park, I would just fill my room with drawings hung up all over the walls of different ways I'd kill Kenny. I need to stop talking.
Dude, the video game gave Kenny a seizure.
Similarly to the Planetarium episode, we see Kenny get so blown away by the Chim Pokemon video game that he has a seizure. That alone wouldn't land it very high, but I just like that he remains present throughout the rest of the episode, just completely catatonic and nobody really gives a shit, before the end of the episode showing a bunch of rats exploding from his stomach. Boy, this must be my weirdest video out of context. Do I sound like a crazy person right now? This one isn't too intense or anything, but I always liked the way it was animated. Scott Tenorman's embarrassing video of Cartman being so hilarious that he laughs himself to death. His angel leaving his body, also roaring with laughter. It's simple, but I like it. Fight me. I love how they spend the entire episode trying to make it as a boy band, going through so many trials and tribulations to get a single opportunity to perform at the mall. And right before starting their song, this happens. Luckily, Randy joins in the nick of time, but again, I just like how mundane this one is.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny.
While talking with the Underpants Gnomes, one of their minecarts fall on Kenny and crushes him. Not all that interesting on its own, but their reaction makes it one of the best.
Holy sh! We killed your friend! Yeah, look.
I don't really like this episode, and we've already seen Kenny get trampled before, but this line right here always stuck out to me, I don't know why.
Oh my god! I found a penny! You bastard!
Wow, poor Kenny.
Cartman gets an anal probe, deserves some props for starting all this, ignoring the Spirit of Christmas shorts, of course. But there's a basic charm to it. Him simply getting blasted by a UFO and trampled by a herd of cattle before Officer Barbrady runs over him with his cop car. Then his friends proceed to beat him with a stick and rip his head off before his body gets dragged away by rats. What the fuck? This was the first one? I just like this little animation of Kenny rotating around the microwave. That's it.
Oh my god, he killed Kenny.
Make Love Not Warcraft's Kenny death is only funny because of them using the actual World of Warcraft engine for the footage. The animation is so goofy and nonchalant.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny.
This is another where Kenny dives off screen, but I think in terms of what we've seen so far, it might just be the most tame. As we see the boys on a boat in live action for some reason, we learn that Kenny has suffered the worst fate of all.
Kenny McCormick has died of boredom.
If it weren't live action, it wouldn't be that funny, I admit, but that's it.
And Kenny didn't die.
Here's another where the joke more so comes from their reaction rather than the death itself. This is the one where they learn saying curse words too many times can actually cause one to die. Kenny vomits up his intestines right at the end of the episode before they all have a hearty laugh over this exchange.
Holy sh... Poop. I love you guys.
This is probably the best Kenny dying off screen gag they've ever done, where after Tolkien returns to his real friends after some helpful advice by talking lions, makes just as little sense with context, I promise. We see that the boys are just dragging Kenny's dead corpse around casually. What the fuck happened?
Oh my god, Phonics Monkey killed Kenny.
Phonics Monkey, how could you? You sick son of a bitch. This one's just scary. Have you seen these monkeys, man? They will rip you to shreds without a second's notice. I just think this one is so funny because of Kenny's Halloween costume, that being an ED-209 from RoboCop. ED-209 or ED-209? 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 I don't know. I've only seen the shitty reboot.
Even America.
A very crappy Christmas features a quick and not all that interesting death. The boys running across the street as Kenny gets hit by a car, but it's elevated through the added context given to it. This episode sees the boys trying to rejuvenate interest in the Christmas holidays by creating a short cartoon, that being the Spirit of Christmas animation Matt and Trav made that would later become South Park. They made a bunch of meta jokes for why things are a little off, like Cartman backing out of the project and Stan doing his voice instead, explaining why their sound's so similar, instead of, you know, them having the same fucking voice actor. One of those gags being them deciding for Kenny to die in the cartoon as well, since they can't get any voice lines from him anymore. Very clever.
It's okay, we'll just have his character die in the film.
The whole episode passes with Kenny not even really being a factor in any of it, mostly standing around in the background, but in the last minute this happens.
6 brave little boys! 5 brave little boys!
Why?
Oh my god, they've killed Kenny!
Like the previous, after all the boys get chickenpox, you think Kenny's gonna get out unscathed before just fucking flatlanding at the end.
Oh my god, he's killing Kenny!
The big spooky monster isn't that good of a Kenny death in my opinion, especially after we've already seen a kid get eaten by it. But I love that this is one of the earliest times they drew attention to the gag. See, this is a clip show episode, although they screw with the audience by including clips that never existed. And so we see one in which the Fonz kills Kenny with his bike, but then they're reminded that that couldn't have happened as they just saw Kenny get eaten by the monster. Now that's what I call a sticky situation. Cartman joins Nambla as one of the best Kenny deaths. The whole episode revolving around Kenny not wanting a new baby in the house and trying to sabotage his parents. Well, his dad mainly. Right at the end when his mum assures him they would never give him less attention because of a new baby, he gets hit by an ambulance, great. We then see his mum give birth, in which she calls the kid, Kenny. Aww.
God, this must be the 50th time this has happened.
52nd.
This is just a funnier version of that cripple fight episode. One, because it adds to Cartman's dilemma of once again being the poorest kid in school, but also because it's fucking CGI for some reason. Why?
Oh my god, they killed Kenny! Spend way too much time with that girl if you know.
This kicks off the entire episode.
Oh my god, they've killed Kenny!
Similarly to that crushing thing, another cartoony death I liked a lot as a kid was when someone would get electrocuted and you'd see their skeleton. Yeah, made even better by the doctors being the ones to force Kenny into this after all the power in the hospital goes out.
Team B will consist of Kenny. Now listen closely, Team B. Your goal will be to turn on the backup generator. Meanwhile, Team A will go to the holding area, here, where there is a television and some cocoa.
You go through the whole episode thinking Kenny's gonna make it out unscathed, but then right at the last second, nope, random tree falls, perfect.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
This one is just fucking stupid, I love it.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
The lightning is fine, but not all that interesting. This one is only so funny because of Kelly's reaction.
What? Who? Who killed him?
They did. Oh my god, they videotaped killing Kenny!
This is another that's good for how well it integrates into the story. See, earlier in the episode, Kenny gets dragged across the road by a go-kart and you think that's that. Meanwhile, Stan and Kyle are trying to win money from America's Funniest Home Videos with a video of Cartman they have playing in his backyard. But they fucking come in second because a guy submitted a video he recorded of Kenny being killed with his stupid-ass commentary in the background and everybody loves it. Yay! Child
I hope I don't get hit by a train. Oh, I sure did.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Love how this one also kicks off the plot. Kenny becomes a zombie and they realize by the end they have to kill him to stop the rest, leading to probably one of the more brutal Kenny deaths of the series. Kyle's even the one to do it. You even get a fun little stinger at the end. This was a great first Halloween special, forgot how much I liked it. I really like how seriously they play this, with Butters, Kyle, and Kenny all being labeled as sex addicts, in which they're all told to not jerk off while choking themselves dressed like Batman.
Kenny?
My god, they killed Kenny!
This is where we finally learn of Kenny's power. He can't die, who would have guessed? It's great that nobody believes him on this. Clearly, selective continuity kicked in here, as again, they've referenced him dying a bunch in the show already. The death itself isn't that special. He gets stabbed by the Cthulhu cult leader and wakes up fine the next day. Us getting to actually see that process happening is cool, but I think the other Coon and Friends episode does a more interesting thing with this. We have no focus on Kenny the entire episode as Kyle, Stan, Wendy, and Bebe are duking it out in the roof of the school to get the real ugliest boy in class list. However, Bebe pulls out a gun and takes a shot, but it doesn't hit Wendy, or Stan, or Kyle. It hits Pitt. No, of course you know it's Kenny. I know it looks like Rob Schneider, but that's actually Kenny's soul trapped in his body, don't ask. But it's still him. I like that we get to see the Wiki and 4000 moment recreated. This whole running gag was amazing. I always liked when they would point out how all the boys look the same when you ignore their hair.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny! You bastards! Oh my god, they killed Kenny! Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
As Tweek and Craig prepare for the Battle of the Ages, we see Kenny taking up home economics. This was so funny to me as a kid, him being terrified of doing shop because, well, he's Kenny, he has every right to be scared. He's forced to do it at the end and you almost think he's gonna make it out okay, but no! I mean, if he did, we wouldn't be talking about it here now, would we? Post-COVID is one of the coolest Kenny deaths in my opinion when it comes to relating to the plot. We see Stan in the future, depressed at the side of the world as COVID is not coming to an end. And just what brings him back to South Park? Well, he's just got the news that Kenny died. For real this time. We never get to see it, but I think it's just super fucking funny and a neat way of bringing everyone together. Gives Kenny the most plot relevance he's had in decades and he's not even in the fucking thing. Coon vs. Coon and Friends gives us three Kenny deaths. The first sees Kenny get so pissed off that nobody believes him about getting stabbed by the cult leader that he decides to shoot himself in the head in the hopes of everybody remembering. I love the added impact this has on Stan and Kyle.
Brian fucking remember! Oh my god! Holy shit, dude!
The second has him use it in a super clever way, as right after Cartman uses Cthulhu to transport them to the city of Kenny realizes that if he kills himself, he can get a one-way ticket back home to rescue everyone. I really like this one because it shows us that despite always coming back, these deaths do indeed hurt him. He has to experience that pain.
Ow! That fucking hurts!
Finally, after everything is said and done, they've saved the day. Kenny learns that he isn't the cool, otherworldly superhero he thought he was, and everybody is impressed instead by Mimpery Crunch's cool powers. And so, he decides to get some sleep.
I'm tired, guys. Think I'm gonna go to bed. Oh my god! He killed Kenny!
As a kid, I never picked up on the fact this is Kenny. I don't know, I think I saw this before the movie, so I didn't know he had blonde hair.
Alright, but you guys owe me for this.
Dude, whatever. At least you finally get to do something. My friend is gonna die.
Look out!
Do I even need to say it?
Oh my god! They killed Kenny!
What is this? The South Park movie's not #1? Yeah, I don't know, I felt like that would be kinda cheating. You know, it's an entire movie which kicks off with Kenny dying after watching Terrence and Phillip light their fart on fire. Him burning alive and getting his heart replaced with a big potato.
About 3 seconds to live.
The whole sequence of him going to hell is fantastic. Him sacrificing himself at the end for the well-being of everyone cemented him as my favorite South Park character as a kid. And him finally getting to go to heaven for this selfless act is the perfect culmination of all this. It's the fucking South Park movie, of course it's great.
I told him.
Comparatively,
Say you and me go to TGI Fridays.
Syphilis is still a deadly disease.
these last two entries are gonna be fairly self-explanatory to anyone who's seen them. Best Friends Forever has Kenny getting obsessed with the PSP, so much so that he doesn't realize he's gonna be... This kicks off him getting sent to heaven, where he learns that the entire point of the PSP game was to decide who was worthy of helping heaven defend themselves against hell, who were about to attack. Would be well good and all. Kenny is more than equipped, but back on Earth, they've put him on fucking life support. So now it's a big moral issue of whether or not to keep him alive as a vegetable, or let him finally rest, nobody knowing what's happening right now in the afterlife. It's a fantastic episode, one of their best. I love that you don't even have to know about the Terry Schiavo connections for it to work. Obviously, as you know, one has to go above it. Kenny dies is the moment in the show where Matt and Trey decided to finally kill Kenny off, who would've guessed. They actually planned for it to be Kyle after finding him too similar to Stan, but for whatever reason they went back on that. Fuck you, Kenny, I guess. This episode made me so sad as a kid. It's too real. He's just sick and dying in hospital, everybody treating this as the serious situation it is. His friends can barely look at him, Stan is just completely avoiding him altogether, and Cartman's seeking a way to fix things. That moment at the very end where Stan realizes how he has to be there for his friend in his final moments, no matter how uncomfortable it makes him, only to get to the hospital and see that Kenny already died, is so fucking sad.
Did he say anything before he went?
He just said, "Where's Stan?"
Then, immediately undercut by Cartman revealing that his plan worked. He wanted to get stem cell research approved, not to help Kenny, but instead, so he could build himself a Shakey's Pizza. Fuck you. But that doesn't change the fact this is one of South Park's best episodes, and the best Kenny death. And that's it! We have successfully gone through each and every Kenny death in South Park. And wow, honestly, I'm surprised there weren't more. I obviously always knew they cut down in them after a while, but I really wasn't expecting it to be so sudden. The lists for season 1 to 5 being incredibly long, but after that, you'd be lucky if a season contained 2 Kenny deaths. But you know what? I think that was for the better. South Park is a very different show than it once was, focusing less on juvenile comedy and gross-out in favor of something that the creators believe to be a little smarter. Not to an obnoxious degree, let's be real, their last special had them fanning off cereal mascots for Christ's sake, only doing the gag when they want to, not because it's expected of them. Who knows how many more times we'll see Kenny die? But if there's anything this short video has shown me, it's that they've basically done it in every way they can. They've tackled this joke from every angle. Big and bombastic, simple and mundane, quick cut, drawn out, bloody, silly. They tried giving it a deeper meaning. What else can you do? I imagine if they still kept up this shtick for every episode, we would be tired of it at this point, instead of happy when it finally returns. Maybe it's actually a good thing it was only present for around a quarter of the show. Either way, I don't really know how to end this. I just thought this would be a fun change of pace. Something simpler to tackle. I've been meaning to do this one for a while. That new special just kind of reminded me of it. So, subscribe if you wanna. Check out the Sleep channel for some epic compilations, including a South Park one. And get ready, because coming up is a video I know a lot of people have been looking forward to. And believe you me, it's coming. Oh, it is coming. No, but for real, it is coming.